Hey friends, welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast. I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas.
And I'm Melissa Trevathan.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in. Landyn describes herself as a working mom with 2 kids, still trying to find that work-mom-wife balance. Her hope is to inspire you in this crazy life, be your daily dose of comic relief, and the best girlfriend you never really knew you needed. She married her 8th grade sweetheart, Steve, and has 2 children, a daughter in college and a son in high school. She has created a beautiful online space with a highly engaged audience, and we are thrilled to share why so many people follow Living with Landyn.
We're so grateful and honored you'd have this time with us.
And thank you for saying yes to this invitation. We're so happy to sit down with you.
Thank you. Well, honestly, thank you for inviting me. I'm really honored. I've always admired you all, and I think you're such a wonderful light and a beacon just to navigate parenting. And you have guided me and been really helpful.
You're so kind.
True.
Well, will you talk about your kiddos, your family, your story, how you came to be doing all the different facets of work you're doing? Some, like you said, have taken a back seat.
Yep.
Currently.
I have always been this girl. I think the biggest compliment I could ever get would be from my parents' friends now. I'm 46. I'll be 47 and married to my 8th grade sweetheart.
That's wild.
Yes, and Steve is awesome. So we will be actually celebrating 22 years on Saturday. Wow. We will not be in the same state. So is life right now. But so I have always been this girl. So the biggest compliment coming from, I feel like, my parents' friends would be that, you know, you're exactly the same girl. We remember running down the street, riding your bike barefoot in Florida. And I've just always been a lover and a person of like human connection. I say now at this age, if anyone tries to contact me, that, you know, please just pick up the phone. An email's so transactional. I just love again, the human connection and really like speaking with people face to face. And so, you know, you learn your gifts as you get older for sure. Yes. But my gift has always been connection and helping. I am a helper. If you're into the Enneagram, I'm a 7, so I'm like an enthusiast, but you know, I really do want to do for others. Like I think now the whole kindness thing lacks, where I feel like sometimes people are a little side-eye, like what's in it for you? Like there just can't be a kind person. And I just love doing things out of truly the kindness of my heart. And I feel like it's such a need, and that is my gift. That's what I'm pulled to do. So now on my Instagram, I may be helping a woman, you know, get a dinner on the table that her kids will actually eat. And maybe it's an under eye concealer, and maybe it's the paint color for her living room or something to wear on a date night. But to me, that is my gift, just to be able to help her feel good. And so again, it's just something I've always talked to strangers. I would, you know, my mom has a funny story. When I was at the gas station, I poked my head out the window and I said, "Hey, mister, you know, my mom makes really good blueberry muffins." So I've just always been that person. It's like, you want to see me blow a bubble? I can help you, you know. So I just have always had that gift of gab, and I really enjoy what I do. And not until I was probably 40 years old did I even have social media.
Wow.
This is a very new venture for me. I only got on Facebook because my grandmother had it and wanted to see our kids.
Wow.
From afar. She lived in New York. And so that was what I did, you know, just for them to keep the connection. So this was all really new as far as me putting myself out there. But I remember that August day on Instagram when there were stories were coming up. And I thought, now you turn the camera around, you talk to nobody. But little did I know the impact and the reach that would have, and how I would in time form a community that I'm incredibly proud of. And it's like a boomerang. I feel like what you put into life is exactly what you get back. And so that's what I try to do. I try to lead with a smile and help and have fun. I don't take myself serious. I mess up. I don't say things right. I don't get it right. I'm not the best parent. I'm not the best wife. I not the best friend, at times. But I really, really do try to be my best. I think there's just beauty in messing up, and perfection is not necessarily pretty. And so in the beginning of Instagram and social media, I think you would see this beautiful home and beautiful clothes and like she must have it all right. But I think stories for me is where I could be myself and I could mess up and let other women know that I'm just like you and we're in this together and we're going to figure it out. And if we don't get it right today, we'll get it right tomorrow.
Yes.
So it's just kind of been a beautiful journey for me to kind of find my groove and connect with these women. And I love it. I always try to figure out how to say this in a way that doesn't come across trying to think of the word. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. I've worked very hard. My husband's worked very hard to provide a lifestyle in that way. And it's not that I'm any more fortunate than anyone else. But I do this because I love it. I'm not, trying to, sell a white t-shirt just to sell as many white t-shirts as I can. I truly am like, this is a great Old Navy t-shirt that you need, for $8. And so that is what brings me the joy. I've always just loved the thrill of the hunt. I love home goods. I love TJ Maxx. I love figuring it out. I like making a rotisserie chicken into something super gourmet. And so I just feel like there's life hacks along the way that I can help these women with. So really living with Landyn is just that. You're living with me. I can't tell you what tomorrow is going to bring, what the next day is going to bring, but I love it. I really do it because I love it.
Well, it's evident. You do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
And you coached me through, you didn't even know. Maybe we talked a little bit about it, but I went to Africa right after you did.
Yes, we did talk about that.
I was watching you pack your bag and I haven't told you that, but I ordered the pants that you had. It was so helpful.
Yeah.
And I think you do that in a million different ways for women.
I try. I really do try to help.
Yeah.
That's the point. When I wake up, I'm like, how am I going to help these girls, my girls today?
Well, and in much deeper ways than Pants for Africa, but that
It
too,
starts
and
somewhere.
that's important,
Yep.
right? All of it, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and in it, you are an unbelievable entrepreneur.
Yes,
and we
you
would
are.
love to ask you just what would you say you've learned along the journey about balancing work and family?
Oh gosh, I think that is the $1 million question. I feel like everyone's searching for balance. I think it's not losing yourself. And I did that. You can get caught up in it. Success can look a million different ways. And, just like when I opened the store and started the speaking tour and was, started writing my book and then doing the podcast. And I had a lot of balls in the air. And I was really seeking the balance and I didn't know really where to find that. I knew my priorities and what I always wanted to be when I grew up was to be a mom and to be a wife. And sometimes I feel like people can say that almost like, well, I just want to be a mom. Well, you're not just a mom and you're not just a partner. You can make that a very fulfilling career in a sense, and rewarding. And that was my real main job. And then from this, I put myself out there. It did build some traction and I did get going with it. And then I was just, trying to figure out like, how was I going to do it all? And I don't know if you can do it all. You can do it all. You just can't maybe do it all at the same time.
Yes.
And so it's just figuring that out. But I just am fueled by the women that buy the tickets and come to the shows. Not that they bought the ticket, but it is the hug. It is the meeting them in person. It is the recharge of my battery time and time again. And I know you guys are around a lot of people and do events and speaking things. It's like when they come to you and they, take the time to sit and look to you for guidance, when you get the chance to put your arms around them or see them nodding back at you and understanding where you're coming from and just really taking in everything you're offering, that is just so rewarding as an entrepreneur or any craft or gift that you have. But balance, I'm not really sure. I think not losing yourself, getting back I'm someone that could go off on 50 tangents, but I think just coming back to center and making sure that you don't lose track of yourself. So just putting back in, I'm much better businesswoman, parent, friend, wife, mother, when I can really take the time for myself. And I feel like we struggle with the guilt of separating that from, everything else that we're needed for in our lives. So I have to do little small things that make me feel good and reward me, so I can go do these adventures and take on different things. So, I don't know what the balance is.
Well, but I love, even with what you're talking about, one of the things you said as we were just talking before it started is how you really felt like intuitively it was time to pause on some things and focus in on family. And I think that feels like so much of the balance is learning to hear your own gut. And
absolutely.
And like you said, I think it's so easy in this day and time to be focused on a million other things to where it really drowns out your gut.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't even get
Well, you're
to
just not present. You're not well. You're really not healthy. I think I became, and this might come with age, but very self-aware. I think you can be self-aware at a younger age, but I think as you navigate and you have so many experiences, and I've really learned more in the last 3 years about myself, my family, life, than I ever learned before. So I think taking in all those experiences, and I think the blessing and really the gift in learning and growing and evolving and figuring out what your passions are and what is a good pace for you, is to really just look inward and be able to know really what fulfills you at that time. And I had a daughter that was going to be going into her senior year of high school, and all of a sudden things got real. And I felt been a present parent, but at that time I had to look back on her younger years and think like, what do I remember? And that just really stopped me in my tracks. And it's something that I'd really toyed with, like trying to run a business and take care of my 22 employees and get on this tour and make sure I get this up on socials and make sure the kids have dinner and I'm at the play practice and all the things. And you're spread so thin.
Yeah.
And you wear that burnout badge, like honor. And I was like, I don't want to wear this thing anymore. And so I toyed with it. But then there's always like, is it failure? You're just like, well, then what will that look like? What will other people think? And for a lot of us, we care what people think, but then we don't. But at the same time, you don't want to be judged. I just wanted to be well thought of, and that I took the right steps to make sure that I showed up in my life. And it was honestly a very beautiful spiritual moment in a church when I came to this decision in the middle of Sterling, Kansas, which is so random, but my girlfriends and I were 6, and we decided to do a friendship tour where we would go back to everyone's hometown.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's amazing. And we are on our 3rd go, but one particular hometown was Sterling, Kansas. Very, very small town, little post office, little diner, no stoplight. And we went to the church she grew up in, and she plays piano. And we broke in almost to the church in the back. We saw the cleaning lady was sweeping, and she knew her from like preschool. Like that's how special it was. And she said, "Do you think we could go sit in the pews? I just want to play the piano." And I have goosebumps now talking about this. But she marched her little self down the aisle, and she sat up at the piano. And when you're in, it's beautiful, and the stained glass and everything. And we sat in the back, and we just had shorts and sneakers on. We had taken a little power walk, and no one I had spoken to this about. And we sat there, and I'm really not a crier. Now I'm in perimenopause, so now I am.
Yes.
David's like, I don't know, but maybe I know. So I am very emotional now. But at that time, my friends just never really, I just wasn't, at a drop of the hat. But I sat there, and she played this beautiful song, and something came over me. I mean, it was really spiritual. And we got up, and we're all crying, and actually I'm crying. They're looking at me like, Landyn's crying.
No.
And we all put our arms around each other, and we're just so proud of her to watch her journey. And she looked at me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, what is wrong? It's like you're gonna close up your store and like just throw it all away. Not throw it all away, but something along those lines. And she, at that moment, it was like the words came right from my brain to her mouth.
Wow.
And it was delivered through a way that no one could really explain. It was verbatim of what I've been thinking. And I just dropped to my knees in the middle of that church. And I just started crying. And she was like, and I looked at them all and I said, I am. And it was in that moment that I did. And I came home and I had a meeting with my team and I closed it all down.
Wow.
And I learned later that that town was originally called Peace, Kansas. And I know I could get emotional. I feel so much peace in that decision. I've never went back on it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of the way I did it. I did it well. I just couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. And it was just such a moment as a woman, as a wife, that I could really just, thank you, so sweet, that I could let go and be okay with it. And it felt so peaceful. And I don't know if everyone can quit their job or they can, put some of these big tasks aside, but I think it is the little things you can let go of to give yourself more presence and really be present is such a gift to yourself and to your family. Yeah. And, that was a moment that I'll never forget, that I really don't know if, had I not been sitting there, would I have been strong enough or could have had enough insight or just like guts to go for it. It was the wind down. Like, how?
Wow.
It was magic.
It's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. Yes.
It was a very moving moment. It was very pivotal in my parenting, in my everything. And I don't feel less. I feel more powerful. I feel like I'm actually doing more by doing less. Wow.
That says a lot.
In
right
whatever
there.
form that comes in. But it's a good time. It was a good. So I'm so happy. So happy.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk about your kids in some different moments, we talk a lot about kids and sports on the podcast. And obviously your husband has had an unbelievable career as a professional athlete, and just would love to know, what have you all learned and decided along the way just about kids and sports, navigating all that space?
Yeah, for sure. This question I get a lot. I think it is because of the career that Steve had. He played professionally for 12 years. He's been playing since he was 7 years old, played City League. We grew up in South Florida. So like the South here, I feel like sports are, you start them small. And people look to him a lot, and myself, about maybe even from the sidelines watching what we're doing with our kids. So our daughter played volleyball. She played travel volleyball and club, and she really enjoyed that. She had a couple ankle injuries, but that child tried everything. We bought every ball, every cleat. We almost bought a horse. She swam, ballet, dance, you name it. I think it was important though, and that's probably what I would say is let them try it all. Let them try it all. And I try to be a conscious parent and not, and my husband and I talk about this, of not letting that inner child or that dream that maybe you had. And that's what I can say to other parents. Now, we may be in a unique situation where I was not an athlete. I was like the yearbook editor, as you can imagine. That makes sense,
That
right?
makes sense, yeah.
So, and I was a senior class president. Like this, I had a radio show in high school.
Of course you did.
Colt Radio, which is so funny. Like I look back on my life, I'm like, I was really, I think that's what you can look at. You can look at your child, and maybe you don't know what that is, but really what they're doing, they are born to do what they are doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And you cannot push that down. You cannot change that. You have to really let them be. So I would say letting them be, letting them try it all. And then lastly, and this is where my husband can speak to this, but I've heard it enough to be able to hopefully translate it to y'all. But if they've got it, they've got it. He's like, and my husband recruits now for the NFL. He's like a scout. And so he works with a lot of college kids. And he is actually in Washington, D.C., working out a guy that's hoping to go to the NFL. But what he sees is the burnout, and it's big. And, a lot of times I feel like the parents will, maybe it was a dream that a dad wanted to play Major League Baseball like every little boy, right? But maybe didn't have that opportunity for whatever reason, maybe injury, or maybe just wasn't as gifted athletically or what have you, or maybe just wasn't his time. But that they get pushed into that. They get pushed into a lot of like one-on-one coaching. And I mean, parents will pay, they will buy the equipment, they will get the right guru. And I think at the end of the day, he's like, it's the kids that want it themselves. And if your high school never wins a championship, they will find you. Our high school, we never won anything. And my husband went on to be drafted in the first round and went to the Hall of Fame. It's kind of funny, but he had the grit and the work ethic. So I do believe that the one thing parents can control is how things are done in the home. And I believe this about a lot of things, that a lot starts in the home, if not everything. And I think just accountability, being a team player, making sure that it's not just about them, whether even if it's an individual sport, wanting to get up, them wanting it that bad. You have to love a sport with the demand professionally, or if you want to really take it to something, you've got to love it. And I think just being at the game, supporting them, cheering them on, not being too much of a critic. I do believe in just like, did you have fun? You did a great job. I don't think by getting them in the car and just drilling them on the way they could have ran to first base a little faster is doing absolutely nothing but putting a void and a rift between you and your child. And I've seen it. And, my husband would say it himself if he was sitting here, had been guilty of that at times, because he had been in this profession and does know the rigor and does know the demand. Right. All he asked of our son and daughter is to do on 110%. Like, if you're going to go out there, just go do it. You know what I mean? And take care of your teammates. And it's not all about you. But, he'd be guilty of getting in the car and again, just seeing the future and like what Luke probably could do a little better. But really, was that going to help Luke that day? No. And sometimes as the mom, I know they can probably relate, or the other parent that's not doing the drilling is just sitting there like, I'm looking out the window like, can we stop having this conversation? And I would never want to contradict my husband in front of our kids ever, but it would be a silent, a separate, quieter conversation of just like, I don't know if that was necessary. And he had to come around to that, because what you don't want to do is have your kid not want you there. And all you need to do is show up and be supportive and let them try it, and just try to check in with yourself, and don't let that inner child be on the field. Let your kid be on that field. And I think if they've got it, they got it. I mean, it's true.
That is such a great reminder. Don't let your inner child be on that field. Yeah.
It's true.
Your kid. That's
because
so
you're
good.
out there going like, oh, how would
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard.
Well, okay, if we were going to shift gears, because a lot of your work takes place on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's going to be really interesting as we continue to watch kids grow into adults who've grown up with it.
Yes.
But for you to be having so much of your work there and raising two teenagers, what has that been like? How have you managed all of that?
Sometimes I need to put myself in timeout, to be honest. I have little reminders on my phone to remind me to get off of it. This is my office.
You literally set timers.
Yeah, but sometimes when it pops up, it says not, okay, that's enough. And I'm like, well, actually, I'm in the middle of something. So I have to check in. But something that we've always done, and I think is great, and I think a thing that parents need to remember is that you are the parent. You are in charge. You more than likely pay that cell phone bill, and you bought that phone, and what's a good time to give the phone to the kids? And I know this is so much of their social being, but I do hate it also. I really do. I shake my head sometimes and think like, gosh, I mean, it sounds crazy when I say this to my kids. I'm like, your dad and I talked on a landline, okay? And it wasn't that long ago. But like
the curly cord that ran
exactly.
so long.
The one with like the clear. I was like, but I said, and it's so hard for you. And I try to really come to their level and understand where they're coming from, because this is all they know.
Right.
When I say these little reminders, like if I wasn't invited to the party, I didn't know till Monday.
Right.
I didn't know on Saturday when it started.
Yeah.
So it's hurtful and it's hard, and I cannot even imagine, but I'm trying to imagine. I'm trying to put myself there and understand that this is their communication. Now, do I understand the picture of the ceiling fan with the words on it and no one's talking?
No.
I do not. So something that I have really tried to drive home in my kids, and our daughter is a sophomore in college, that if you need to talk to somebody or you really have to have, something that requires a real communication skill, you have to get on the phone, you have to be in person. And I really just try to take those air quote old school ways and apply them now, because that is like a lost art. I don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to communicate. But I am really big on that. We have always had their phones plugged in downstairs. So, I mean, they may or may not be embarrassed of me saying this, and their friends may or may not know this, but when they were even like, my son's a junior in high school, that phone is plugged in downstairs at night. Sorry. It is.
That's great, Landyn.
It just is. I mean, that is the rule. I'm like, if you want to buy the phone and do the things, and when you don't live here anymore, then you can do that. So I guess we're firm on that. But it is, I think, been a blessing, really. I think kids really want that structure. They really actually want you to not let them have it all the time. And there's the fight. And I think, and I've dealt with this too, where it's like, it's just easier to let it happen, than having the rift and the attitude. But they're teenagers, and that's going to come anyway. So you might as well just hit it head on. But that's been plugged in. I like a lot of, I used a lot of apps like Bark. Just to get those like key phrases and things. The computer and the phone have always been downstairs. To this day, it's just a given, and it goes down at 10 p.m. As they've gotten older, we've navigated, because they need their sleep.
Right.
And I know how easy it is to scroll. I am guilty of like, Landyn, you need to go to bed. What are you doing? So my husband and I have even made a thing where right after dinner time, you get like, the half hour, 45 minutes, if it spills into an hour, and then the phones go in the kitchen, and that's it. Because it's important to have that time. I also do something, and this is like a adult tip, but like when we go out to dinner with our friends, we put them all in the center of the table. And if you reach for a phone, you buy dinner for the whole table.
Love that.
That's good. I like that.
So, I mean, I know there's an occasional like babysitter going to call, you got to look, but I mean, if you're tempted enough, you're buying for all 6 of us.
That's great.
And then when friends come over and stuff, I really am like, guys, can we just like, let's leave the phones here and just go be kids. Kids aren't kids anymore.
Yes.
No one's going outside and like playing basketball and riding their bike till the streetlight comes on. I wish that so badly they could have that experience. I feel like so many of the issues are because of these dang phones, So being on it, I have to lead by example. And so I am guilty of it. I can't say I'm perfect at it, but I really do, give my undivided attention, and I'm not like looking up from my phone or looking down and glancing to hear what they have to say. I think it's important that you're looking your kids in the eye and that you're letting them know that they're just as important and worth your time than someone on the phone. I know the girl needs the chicken recipe, but she might just have to wait for me to be able to do that. So people will notice online I've been not showing up as much. I mean, I'm very present on there, but it could be a day or two, and it doesn't feel, it feels good to kind of just get away for a minute. But then I can show up and give more quality. So anyway, it's hard, and I really do try to do a better job of it. But I think being the parent and controlling it, and ultimately you make the rules. And I think you just got to put your foot down, and they'll thank you for it. I think you'll see some positives come from that for sure.
It's so good.
Okay, building on that.
Yes.
We'd love to ask you, we are hearing more kids. I think I hear more boys than ever wanting their own YouTube channel. You hear more girls than ever wanting to be influencers. What would you say to those kids? Anything you'd say to those parents?
It's a flooded market. There's a lot of people on there. And I think some for the right reasons, some for the wrong reasons. I know it sounds fun, looks fun. I know the girls are watching the makeup videos. I know they're knowing that these 20-somethings are raking in all this money and things like that. I don't know the longevity of it. The one thing that I can say, and this goes to anyone listening with anything that you do, is authenticity will always shine. Yeah. And I think you can get caught up in this. And I see women, even my own age, that I follow, you know, jumping products all the time and this, that, and the other. That was something that I had said very early on. I am not going to share it unless I've eaten it, put it on my face, worn it, made it, used it in my home with my own money. Like, I really can't, I've earned their trust. I can only really want them to trust me. So I think the whole influencer thing is, it'll be interesting. I don't see brands getting away from it. I know this is like marketing now, and I know with, you know, Snapchat and TikTok and everything, and it is very unfiltered and authentic in a way, but is it?
Right.
That's the question. And I think like, you know, you can't sell your soul for a white t-shirt. Like, you really would have to really stand behind what you're talking about. I do know the people that are most successful are the people that are authentic and are true to themselves. And I think people can see through that more and more. I don't know if it's a career path. However, now I feel like it is a job. I never knew it was a job. And I feel like I'm still very newly into it. I'm, you know, really 2016 is when I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to do something with this. And it got some traction, but it's not a path that I was like, I'm going to be an influencer. But I know that maybe could be an option, you know?
I remember my first high school girls group when half of the girls said that's what they wanted to do for a career. And thinking, wow. That just wouldn't even have,
I guess it's media and we're all on our phone. And I think that's the part of it that's like, it's probably the reality. But at the same time, I just hate that that's how we're going to connect with one another. So I feel like there's so many amazing things, guys, you could be doing. And I talk, you know, with my own kids about that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I guess, you know, everyone, they might want to try it out, but I don't know. I feel like there's just stuff with more substance that really will be more fulfilling. I feel like it's almost just a one-way street. You're really, yes, you can build a community based on maybe what you're sharing, but it's a very lonely place.
Yes.
I will say that. I am very lonely, and people might find that hard to believe given that, I mean, I have a great group of girlfriends, but this is a lonely space in a sense. And also you have to have really thick skin and it hurts. And people hurt my feelings to this day. And I try not to let it hurt me. And I really feel secure in who I am. But man, I could have 99 amazing messages and feedback, and then one will get you and knock you right down. And even as secure and as much life as I've navigated, that's hard for me. I can't imagine being 17 or 22 and trying to figure out, because I think you can really start to believe it. And that, I don't know. That's probably, I guess, what I would say is being young going into this. Like, are you mentally tough enough to navigate something like that? It's not nice all the time. It looks fun from afar, but it comes with a lot of pressure.
Yes.
A lot of pressure. And I feel that at 46. So imagine, you know. So I don't know.
Thank you for speaking to that. It just feels so helpful.
I'm so grateful. Yes.
Me too.
Absolutely. And I love what you have done, Landyn, which I hope is what we're doing too, that it feels like social media is a vehicle to further who you're wanting to be in the world.
Yes.
You know, rather than just, I want to be an influencer. It's like, you want to help people. I mean, it is so obvious that your
maybe
heart
it's not the, I think, okay, well, I'll tell you, that's actually a great point. If I was to look back at my career path, I went into this wanting to share and be, and I've always been a girl's girl. So really what I wanted you to do was know what color to paint your living room, right? And how to turn that rotisserie chicken into 2 meals and what under eye concealer maybe, and what park has a great walking trail. Like that was my true mission. What came from that were partnerships and opportunity based on me just helping.
Yes.
So that is how my space in this world grew and why I can make it a career, why it can be profitable and what have you. Now, another thing I will say to the youth is, and to anyone, it's like, if you're chasing the money or you're chasing the status or you're chasing the end result, it'll never be fulfilling. It'll never be rewarding. And quite honestly, you may never get there. I think you do not chase the end. You've got to go through the process. That is the most important thing. I have learned more in the last 3 years than I have my entire life. And sometimes at this age, you just don't want to learn anymore. Yeah. You want to wake up and be like, oh, can't I just know what to do today? And let me tell you, that just doesn't happen. I think when you can kind of, just understand that you're always going to be learning. And if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And I grow every day. Like, it's exciting now. And I do see the beauty in the mess. And I don't know why. And I don't know if I can thank my mom for this or what, but I've always been a very upbeat, energetic, positive person, like straight out of the womb. But I think that thankfully has been a gift for me to not go back on experiences that were hurtful and hard and look at them as like such blessings. I don't know why I'm so grateful that I can look back and not be like, why'd that happen to me? That was terrible. I'm never going to, and be down on the situation when I'm like, I am so glad that happened. Because you'll either never do it again, or you'll know what's coming, or you can see it from a mile away, and you'll also know how to navigate it, if it arises again. But I'm just so happy that I can see what good things those were when it was bad, when it was hard.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which could take us back to parenting.
Yes.
And I feel like we could talk about every subject in the world with you. So, okay, favorite parenting advice you've ever been given?
Came from my mom.
Yes.
And she said, raise kids that people want to be around.
It's great.
And I was like, and I had little kids. And I remember thinking, because all of us can look and have been around where we're like, yeah, not my love them, they're kids. It's hard, it's, I'm glad to see this hour's over, and we're all doing the best job we absolutely can. And kids can be trying. My kids were trying. But I thought that always stuck with me. And I thought, I am going to raise kids. Now I'm going to raise young adults. I'm going to raise humans that people enjoy being around, that are good people. That is my job. I don't care what my kids do for a living. I don't care how much money they make. I don't care where they live. I just want them to be fulfilled and to be good people. That's all I can control. I feel like the world is so overwhelming, and we're all trying to be helpers and help everything. And I mean, you really focus in on your home and then your community, and maybe you can't spread yourself much further than that. But if we can all do that, then we will be a better place, because those things will link up next to each other. And so it's like, focus on what you can control. I can control my kids, my house, the meals I put on the table, the rules that I, make sure that I put down, and how accountability and everything, that's it. I can control my marriage. I can control all of that. Outside of that, I really can't. And I think it's just too overwhelming to even try to think that you can. So I think if we can all hone in on our little circle, our little under our roof, then it'll be better.
Yes, I like that. Then the circles link up.
It's
true.
Yes, it is true.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one more question, but before we ask this, will you just tell folks where they can find your work?
Oh gosh, yes. Probably on Instagram is where you're going to see a lot more of this. Just, Landyn, some days she's, not doing it well.
No, I was going to say dancing with their dog.
Dancing with my dog, playing with my chickens. I have a garden. I have a great dog named Jax, quite popular on Instagram. He's a yellow lab. He's hilarious. Just kind of doing life stuff. Instagram, so Living with Landyn. I also do have 3 seasons of a podcast, and there's lots of goodies in there. It's called Living with Landyn. Everything's pretty much Living with Landyn. livingwithlandyn.com. All the resources, recipes, you name it, all kinds of past posts from years and years from wedding registry things to how to put on a graduation party to what we're going to wear to our daughter's wedding. I mean, all the things. I try to put myself in everyone's shoes. And then, I dabble. When I say dabble, it just automatically posts over to TikTok. I'm not active over there. I don't have a Snapchat outside to put a filter on and joke around with my kids across from me on the couch, But outside of that, I think on stories, really, like on social media, Instagram has a lot of beautiful little posts. But I really love to show up on there. And sometimes, sorry, David, I might have a bra on and no makeup and, I'm just trying to get my life together, but it is Living with Landyn. I can never tell you that on Tuesday we're going to do this and on Saturday we're going to do that. And times I'll be away for taking care of myself and my family, but I love it there. I think it's the most fun. And that is where I like to show up face to face. Kind of like FaceTiming a girlfriend.
Yes. That's
and we're glad you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we've got a 2-part question. We like to end with something fun and food related. So part 1 is queso or guac, and part 2 is what's your favorite taco?
Okay, this is good. Well, first of all, Mexicans are my favorite food ever. Let's see, guacamole. And I have a little tidbit that I love doing in the summer. So when you make up your guacamole, I like extra lime. I have a recipe on my website, but I love adding fresh pomegranate seeds. So let me tell you, it's like savory, and then you get like a little crunch with a little burst of sweet. And then even if you put a little feta cheese on top, it sounds weird, but it's so good.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds awesome.
We should link to that in our show notes.
Yeah, no, you surely can.
Yeah.
And also, it's real pretty. I know guacamole doesn't feel very festive and holiday, but like during the holidays, pomegranates on your green guacamole is so cute. You just like wow your guest.
Great suggestion.
So that's that.
Okay.
And then tacos. So my husband, while an athlete, but has been retired for 10 years. And I feel like that could be a whole podcast on.
Yes. We'd have a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Do you guys talk about marriages? Like, what do you talk about? He is a phenomenal cook. So he's thrown himself into that. And so he made us the best shrimp tacos the other night. And I actually saved them on a highlight on my Instagram, but corn tortilla, just some like mango salsa and some cilantro and lime juice. And they were phenomenal. They were easy, but so good.
Sounds amazing.
So our anniversary, like I told you, is on Saturday. And I said, can we have those on Sunday when we all meet back at the ranch? We're all going in different directions. But anyway.
Landyn, thank you. It has been a joy to be with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
So grateful for you.
Yes, we are.
Well, I appreciate you guys and the work you do, truly. Like, I have looked to you many, many times. I know how people do. And I remember, Sissy, you giving Lily your Brave book when she was in high school. And my daughter also came here, and she has a phenomenal therapist at the University of Michigan that she goes to weekly. And I love that my kids, you can take this out or add it in, but I'm just so proud that they are self-aware and know what they need, and that the stigma is not around it. And we talk very openly. I go to therapy every week, and I love it. It is my favorite self-care. Like, you can have a massage and a facial, but that for me is, it's just what keeps me going. And I'm so proud of her. And my whole family is very just open to that. And I think it's wonderful. You guys are such a resource and such a blessing to so many. And you guys truly are like doing the Lord's work. I mean, you really are showing up for people and kids, and they need you. And I'm just so grateful to know you guys.
Well,
so
us too. Right back at you.
Thank you.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible.
Amanda Young, our operations manager.
Chris Starrett, our engineer and producer.
Our management team at KCH.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.